Having wrapped the thicker fabric onto one of the poor quality domes and the thinner fabric onto one of the poor quality domes, what I was going to try for the last test is wrapping the thinner fabric onto the really nice quality print using, again, the contact adhesive to see if the contact adhesive actually soaks through. And then hopefully in the final video of this series we can compare all three prints and techniques and decide what is the best way to fabric wrap a 3D print. So once again, I'm going to start by spraying the top. You should do this in a well ventilated area. I will have a respirator on. I will then stick down the top, start working in the sides, and then hopefully use the same mould to clamp it in place, which is this part again. Again, as this is spray adhesive, giving it a couple of minutes just to get tacky, just let it form that bond. Get my oversized piece of fabric, lay it on roughly in the middle, start spreading out from the middle, working my way into my feet. And what you might be able to notice is you're already getting nicer definition because of the thinner fabric around these feet instantly. And because this is quite an open weave fabric as you would describe it, it just stretches in a nicer way. It moves in a nicer way. You can see you can get further into that vent hole. So the advantage of your fabric selection will really make this process either nice and easy or more of a challenge. And then again, put all of the material on, slide this up so a slightly cleaner area to work, and then just start stretching it in. One of the nice things about having a slightly longer format video is you do have this ability to show how long a process takes. And as you'll see with this, because the glue's quite sticky, you don't have that much working time with it, so it is a fairly quick process that you can trial and error. Now, one of the things I will say with using this stickier glue is one thing I'm just watching out for now isn't so much the pleats, but it's actually the pattern within the fabric. Because this fabric is open weave, because it's got quite a wide grain, one of the things that you'll notice is that you can see how this lies. And in pulling it and stretching it, you're actually going to bend some of those lines. And again, going back to the first video, that's where we're going to want to consider if we have an A or a B surface. Now, you all heard the click. That's one of the parts that's just, what have I just knocked off? I've knocked off one of my bosses, being a bit rough with this. So again, a problem with using a 3D print, a PLA print, is that they are quite brittle. So let's just trim this down. Obviously I can glue that boss back on afterwards, but let's see if I can get this actually to work first. Okay, rubbish off, and then start working this up, working this over the top. You can hear the creaks and the cracks, and that is from the amount of pressure I'm actually putting on this to try and straighten it out. It is definitely harder to work with this stronger glue. It definitely is, but it seems to be picking up the detailing a lot better. Now, what you'll remember from this is that this print was slightly warped, and it was slightly warped because when dissolving the PVA off it, it was placed in water that was too hot, and that causes warping in the, just quickly work that out, that causes warping in the PLA. Not a problem if you use other materials, but is quite a problem with PLA. So let's see if we can actually work in, get this top piece in while we know it's got these warps in it, or whether this is going to be one challenge too far. Okay, unfortunately at this stage I think it is slightly too warped, and then with the extra thickness of the material on it, it's really making this hard to fit in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera, I'm going to run a file around the edge of this quickly and see if I can get it in to clamp it so we've got a nice comparison at the end. Okay, so let's have a look at the comparison of our 3 parts. This is the first part. The first part was a slightly rough PLA print, and what it had was a thin fabric and spray mount. Now as you can see, there are still some rough areas we can see through it. It doesn't hide it perfectly, but the spray mount print was, that's just using standard spray mount. It was very easy to apply, it was very easy to move around. It's got some okay definition and it hides it quite well. The second print, using the same thinner fabric, was actually using the contact adhesive, and the contact adhesive print, as you can see, has got far better definition. So if we look particularly around the feet, you can see both the outside and inside of the feet. That higher bond really gives you some nice definition. So if you've got some detail, I would really recommend contact adhesive. As though you all will have seen, I struggled to get some of the creases out, and I struggled at the edge to actually clamp it because of it. The overall pattern is actually far better, and the stretch in the fabric is far better using a thinner open weave fabric and the contact adhesive than using the thin open weave fabric with something like spray mount. You can tell the difference by how I can push down into that and actually get a dent in for the charging module versus this where I can't. One other thing to note though is that on this, although using a less tacky glue does allow you to keep the lines straight, on the contact adhesive, because it bends, what you might notice is running down here there are slight ripples. So if I were to do this again with contact adhesive, I'd take more time laying out the fabric. So although this is stickier and although it sticks faster, you need to be slightly neater with your gluing when you place it together and have a neat work area laid out. The final one is actually this, and this is the slightly thicker fabric on a poor print. And one of the nice things about looking at this, comparing this with the spray mount, is the spray mount still glues the feet down, but you don't get that definition you got with the thinner fabric. So with the thinner fabric, the feet are far more defined than the thicker fabric. But what you do get with slightly thicker fabric is, compared to this first print, you get a lot more masking, a lot more hiding of those rough areas. So both of the glues and both of the fabrics work. I think what I would recommend is, if you were learning, the easiest place to start would be with some spray mount. Standard spray mount, thin open weave fabrics. This will allow you to do a good job. If you're really after some crisp detail, if you've got some nice feet like this, you perhaps want to poke them out with a soldering iron afterwards, add some rubberized feet, consider again a thin open weave fabric, but use some contact adhesive, something with a bit better bond. And if you've got some bits to hide, if you're just going for a quick wrap, thicker fabrics will allow you to hide a couple of your sins. So thank you for watching this series. I hope these videos helped, and if it's something you want to try, I look forward to seeing your attempts at it in future.